Welcome to another episode of the Whitest Mexican You Know. Obviously, I'm your host, Antonio, and every week I try to have some of the best local Las Vegas comedians. This week is no different. Actually, this is probably one of my favorite comics in the scene right now.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Sam Lundstedt.
Right on. Cool. I'm here.
Oh, yeah, man.
That's a cool
Dude,
intro.
I appreciate you so much because you were one of the first guys that kind of took me under your wing, and you would, give me these comedy secrets and stuff like that,
Yeah, but man, if you say that, then it'd be like, I don't know, people would be like, hey, is he telling them funny stuff?
Man, you told me practical stuff. Like, one of the
Yeah.
biggest things is, working a room where it's mostly a black crowd.
Yeah.
And you were like, this is kind of how you have to approach it, because if they're not with you, they're against you.
But be careful, because everything that I say is just kind of like, and you'll see this, but it's regurgitated of what people have told me. But I always say when I do, because advising comedy, for me, it's bad because for so long I took everything as what people said as law.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm like, well, maybe that shit didn't sound very good.
Yeah,
That didn't sound right. But yeah, just like listening to a lot of podcasts and hearing stuff. So it's like, yeah, if it can apply to me, then go ahead and say it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like I said, it was a lot of practical stuff. Like, even like I've been a fan of comedy for a long time, and I never heard the laughs per minute type
Yeah.
thing. And you were the first one to let me know about that, because we were talking about doing a show at Wise Guys. And I was like, dude, they give you 3 minutes. I can do that, in my sleep. And then you just looked at me, you're like, but can you?
Right.
How many laughs do you want to get in that 3 minutes?
Yeah.
And you broke it down like that. I was like, oh shit, I've never thought of it like that before. And now I gotta adjust how I'm gonna go about this.
Well, it's crazy that you say that, because I haven't watched TV in a little while. I haven't watched a lot of it. And then over Thanksgiving, I watched a commercial, and it was like a 40-second spot. And I watched that thing, and it got like 12 tries of laughter in 40 seconds. And I said, what the fuck am I
Damn.
watching? How hysterical is that?
Yeah.
And I know it's real inside baseball. It was like, it's a commercial. Who cares? But whoever wrote that thing tried to
Yeah.
make it funny in that condensed of amount of time.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I need to start watching commercials with a notepad now.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound
Take notes.
fun, but I was like, but they also had things that we don't as comics, because they have, as a comedian, we have just our voice to make people laugh and act out with our body. With TV and commercials, you have picture.
Yeah, you
so
have a whole
do-
scene taking place.
Yeah, you could do.
Yeah.
You have like they had 6 more things you could do with TV that you couldn't do as just a comedian. But I'm like,
Yeah.
still, man, that was impressive.
Yeah. And so I want to ask you, how long have you been doing stand-up at this point?
I'm gonna say right now, 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Damn. And what made you take that step? Like, what was it in your life? What kind of inspiration pushed you to say, this is what I'm going to try to do?
So I've heard this with other comics, and it was true to me also when a relationship ended. And I've heard that a few times. When a relationship ends, then you could do something for you. And when it ended, I was like, oh, wait a second. In Vegas, I know they have comedy on Sunday nights at Boomers. So I'm just going to try to show up there at 7 and see if they're still doing it. And then I went to it, and I watched people do comedy, and I said, oh man, I got a whole bunch of stories that I could do this. I want to do this. I could do it. But the list had already had 30 people on it. And they said, we're full tonight. You got to go do it somewhere else. So when I started comedy in Vegas, I thought you could only do comedy Sunday nights at Boomers, and that's it. That's just something we could do. That's all you could do. Then I met people and talked to people, and they showed me tons of other rooms where you could do it every night of the week. And I was like, I'm a very slow learner, and the only way for me to get good at something is if I just hammer down on work ethic and going a lot.
Yeah.
And then I could get better that way. And my first set I did, I thought I had like 15 minutes of jokes. And I went up there and I said, I did my stuff, and I was like, oh, wait, all these jokes I'm telling are like had to be their jokes, where I'm like, you guys should have saw the look on my grandma's face. And it's like, well, they weren't there. So what the fuck's funny about it?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, wait, this is very, very hard. It's going to take
Mm.
a lot to make people laugh.
Yeah. And were you like a big fan of stand-up before you ever tried it?
So when I was like 12 years old, I would try to come home and watch BET every day at 3:30 or 4 when it was on, and I would watch Comic View. And I do this thing. I knew that if I can get home quick, and I had other brothers and sisters in the house, if I could get to the TV first, I could watch Comic View. And if they did, we would watch Darkwing Duck.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it made me hustle home so I could see comedy.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I watched that. And then when I was 17 years old in Santa Cruz, where I lived, they had at the Crow's Nest, they had comedy. And I just thought it was so cool that like 3 or 4 people would go up and do stand-up at a restaurant. I'm like, oh, I'm not missing this. This is cool.
Yeah.
And when I saw other comics do it and then in Vegas, before I did comedy, I saw I spent money and went to comedy shows. So I saw pros. I saw Carlin here at the Orleans, and I was like, nice.
Wow.
I saw Jay Moore, and I saw 2 different levels.
Yeah.
But every time someone would come, then when I started doing comedy, anybody that would come through Vegas that was famous, I would spend money and see what we aspire to be, which is a headliner. So I see what they're doing, and I like to do it. I saw Jerry Seinfeld, and it's like one of those things where it's like $179 to see him, or $130 or something.
Yeah.
I saw him, but it's the kind of thing I'll only see once. I don't need to see him every time he comes through.
Gotcha.
Bill Burr, when I see him, I would spend whatever the ticket price and see him whenever he comes to town. And Burt Kreischer was good the whole time. Right when he got on stage for the entire time, it made everybody in that place happy. Same with Joey Coco Diaz.
Nice. I saw Joey Diaz at Levity when I used to live in Santa Barbara. It was just by happenstance. I was like trying to, because I wanted to see live comedy, you know? And so I'm going through, and it was like in a week he'll be here, you know? And I bought the tickets. Me and my buddy went out there, and he fucking destroyed it, man.
I know.
Because Levity isn't a super big room. I think you get like 150, maybe 200 people in there.
Right.
And it was fucking amazing, man.
So the owner of LA Comedy Club out here in Vegas said that. I said, hey, who have you seen? We're talking comedy, because Matt Chavez, he's really into comedy. And he said, well, you know where you need to see comedy, Sam? I said, where? And he goes, at rooms that are 150 or 200 seats, because once it starts to get to auditorium level, it's just like, I saw Dave Chappelle, and it was like he was way down there, and it was cool to be a part of something and see it. It was really, really cool. He was badass, and I saw close enough to Bill Burr, but when you see people destroy inside like 150 or 200 seats, that's like, damn, man, that's a good feeling for everybody in the room.
Oh yeah, because I saw Joe Rogan.
Dude, I never seen him perform. How was seeing him in a theater?
I didn't like the theater because it's so removed from it, you know. And like Tony Hinchcliffe opened for him, and
Dude, we saw Tony Hinchcliffe at Dive Bar. He brought a show here.
Really?
And a couple local comics got up.
No shit.
Yeah, he did it at the Dive. And Alex put the whole thing together.
No shit.
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing. I went and saw Kill Tony when I was in Austin at the Vulcan. Dude, it's amazing. Because I've been watching that show for a long time, and being there live is such a different animal. It's so weird how, engaged the audience feels, even like they're not heckling, but it's just like, it's so much more intimate. Yeah. And I thought the Vulcan, where he does it now, was this huge room. Bro, it's teeny tiny, and it blew my mind.
He probably picked it for that reason,
because it just works a lot better like that. Because I saw Doug Stanhope at Levity as well, and it's just a small room. I think Brandon Walsh opened for him, which was, that dude's fucking amazing, man. Nice. And they both just destroyed it, and it was a great show, man.
That's cool.
I love comedy. Like, I've been obsessed with comedy since I was a kid, and because the little, I guess, the seeds of me becoming a comic started when, I was obsessed with comedy. I would listen to it all the time and this and that. And when my family and everybody would fight or things would get weird and tense in the house, I would recite comedy bits that I
Okay.
used to, memorize just to break the tension and just
Right.
be like, calm down, everybody. And I would try to lift everybody back up.
Oh man, that's a great story.
And
I like
yeah.
that.
And so that was kind of the first. But like I said, I've been obsessed with it since I was like maybe 10 or 12. And I
Mhm.
saw Christopher Titus for the first time.
I saw him in Vegas, and I got to talk to him, and I talked to him, and I talked to his opener, and she does radio out of LA, and I talked to her about clean comedy or dirty comedy,
Mm,
and she said Christopher Titus would wreck her if she tried to bring some nasty shit on stage.
really?
Yeah, she said that, and then also what I also found interesting about that is when he went up at the South Point and did his set, he came out with 6 pages printed on a stool. And sometimes if I get shows, I'm like, okay, I'm not going off notes or off page. I just want to be able to hold the microphone and do comedy. But Christopher Titus had all those pages, and of course with 2 or 3 jumping off points, he could do like 12, 14 minutes on each one.
Mm,
And he addressed it also. He said, this is for a HBO special I'm working on, and you guys are a part of it. And I was like, okay, it made it completely fine right
yeah,
away.
yeah,
So when I listen to other open mic comics, I go, oh, he's reading it off the paper. I'm like, well, I heard somebody a little bit better in the industry
yeah.
do it too. So it's all right.
Yeah. The first live comedy that I ever saw was when I was in Colorado,
Mhm.
and I went to the Comedy Works.
Okay.
I think that's its name. Comedy Works in Denver,
Yeah.
and I saw Mark Normand up there. He's
Nice.
fucking amazing. And when he went up there, he had the same thing. He had his little notebook up there, and he addressed it immediately. He was like, "Hey, man, I'm working this shit out. I'm trying to see what works. These a lot of new jokes." And he would be that type of comic where if he said a joke and it didn't really land, he'd be like, "All right, scratch that one
Right, right,
off,"
right.
and then he would keep moving. And that blew my mind because I was like, I didn't realize that you could watch a comic work shit out,
Right, right, right.
but it makes sense now being in it. Like they got to have somewhere to work.
So I've listened to quite a bit of his podcast, but I've never seen him live, and he's one of the ones I want to see live. And he rolls with Dean Del Rey, who I saw at the Comedy Cellar in Vegas, and I was like, oh, cool. And I want to see him when he comes to town too. I want to see.
Oh yeah.
I want to see. Yeah, I want to see him.
So who were some of the comics that you followed religiously before you did stand up that kind of gave you that spark, that kind of inspiration that you would want to do that one day?
You know what? Absolutely none. Zero.
Really?
None. Zero. I knew George Carlin was the best at it. So when I was in Vegas, I saw him. But comedy is very, very self-indulging, and you could talk about whatever you want. And I don't know if I'm a self-centered person, but I always just talk about what I see or what's going on in my life and that kind of stuff. And I've got compliments before from other comics saying, Sam, you have an original voice. You're not trying to do other stuff. So that's a plus of not watching a lot of comedy.
Mm.
But also, it's like, for me, it's like watching golf. I don't want to watch it too much on TV or something. I would rather see it live.
Mm.
But yeah, so it wasn't. But now that I've been at it for a while, when I watch Bernie Mac,
Yeah.
I send that video to my friends and, man, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
When you see that person on stage that's had poverty in his life and so little, and how he speaks and how he talks and every word out of his mouth was so serious, it just draws me in, where it's like it makes you love that person.
Yeah.
And I see that with all my friends when I do comedy, because it's so intimate and you get to see facial expressions and what's really going on in their lives.
Yeah.
So I would say like Bernie Mac now, but all my favorite ones that I watch are just local comics going up there and trying stuff, and then people that are really, really good have been doing it 10 years and 20 years. Like I like to watch 20-year comics
Yeah.
and 10-year comics because they really know what they're doing up there. And I like to watch it, and I laugh at almost everything.
Yeah.
I laugh at almost everything.
That's awesome. And I love fucking Bernie Mac.
Yeah.
Like he's one of the big ones for me. And what got me is seeing the video that he did I don't remember what the show was, but it was decently early in his career, where he walks out there and the crowd has been shit the entire night, and he just walks out. He goes, "I ain't scared of you,
No,
motherfuckers."
I know.
That blew my fucking mind when I saw it for the first
Well,
time.
I think that if you've had a hard life and struggles and stuff really, really bad and hard things happen to you young, then then bombing's not that bad.
Yeah,
It's not. If you've had horrible, horrible things happen to you, when you get on stage, then it's like, if it doesn't go well, guess what? It's still okay. It is still okay. And there's some comics that I've seen that do that where they're fearless or bulletproof, and I like to watch that. I like to watch that kind of stuff. But you're right. I get I saw Eric Myers at the Dirty at 12:30, and he passed away. But he had him. I watch comedy close. You say you love it. I love it too. I watch it closely. And he was the headliner, and he had the mic in his hand, and it started to slip or drop down, and he gripped it so tight and held it by there and went up and just gave his next part of his set was so strong, so hard that he's been there before, that he felt himself start to get tired or weaker a little bit over it. And then he said in his mind, because I watch it closely, it's not going this way tonight, and just dug into it even deeper or harder. And I'm like, right there, I don't care. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. And I saw Shimmy do that at the Comedy Store and at Rebar, where if something doesn't, we say stuff on stage that does not hit as comics.
Trust me, I know.
But then to go like, yeah, guess what? That was fucked up, but I have a certain amount of time to be very, very good on stage. So I'm digging in harder and deeper. And when I say my friends do that on stage, I'm like, it makes it, that's a nice part of comedy that I like. One of my favorite parts, when they go, well, what I don't like is when they're doing bad on stage, and then they start to do real bad and call out that they're doing bad and just let it go real shitty, real bad, real fucked up. And
Interesting.
I don't like to see that.
Because I've heard that from professional comics, just on podcasts or just talking about stand-up, where they say, you know, if you're not doing well, acknowledge it. Right. And then it can kind of break the tension. So
if you acknowledge it one time, that's fine. But at the open mic level and stuff, when I see it where they're just like, oh, I suck. This is horrible. I shouldn't do this. It's bad. Guess who else is hearing that? Everybody in the room. And you're just filling it with so much self-doubt that it's like people are like, oh, fuck this. And I've heard really good comics yell back at the stage, do fucking better. Try harder. And I'll laugh at that. I'll laugh at people being a dick.
So for me, I love... It might be fucked up, but I love when comics bomb because it does give you an insight onto who they are as a comic because of how they handle it.
Right.
And before I ever did stand-up, I would love to watch those videos on YouTube. It would make me laugh so hard to watch a comic just struggle, get angry and shit like that. Now, I still like it, but it's different because I empathize with it. Because I've bombed before, and so it makes me feel like it's almost like watching a car crash. You're like, oh my god, but you want to keep watching.
Yeah, but it's like for me, I think I talked to some other comics about it, and I'm like, I think an empath. So when I see somebody hurting, I fucking hurt with them. Like, oh fuck, and I'm like, oh, they're that's gonna go bad. But I've had sets where I did really, really bad, and I get off on stage fucking mad and pissed that it went poorly, where I'm nasty. Another comic will come up to me and try to talk to me like that and be like, hey man, it's okay. Man, get the fuck away from me. I didn't want to hear you say something like that.
Do you have a good bombing story?
Yeah, sure. So man, I'll just say it. So I have a whole they say that you're not supposed to do a lot of chit-chatting before you go up and and do a set when you're getting paid for it. But so you can save it all.
What do you mean chit-chatting? Like with other comics?
Yeah, like it just depends. Everybody has their own process. But if you do absolutely nothing before, don't get your mouth moving, and then only save it for the stage, you can have a pretty good set. This time I didn't do that. I was with everybody out in Vegas that was good. And I was doing good 5 or 6 times in a row. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm good now. and Greg Salerno was hosting it. And I went there, and Steve McAnally was there, and I was hanging with other comics before. And I was like, yeah, I'm going up. I'm about to destroy the shit out of this fucking room, is how I was feeling before. And I went up on stage, and what was funny is not only did I bomb, words wouldn't even come out of my mouth. And that's like, I couldn't even talk. And I was like, come on, I can't talk. I can't come up with anything.
Shit.
And luckily enough, the host pulled me off after like 3 or 4 minutes, and I sat down back with my friend that was guiding me through comedy, and she said, hey man, you need to start writing your fucking jokes down word for word. Stop fucking around. Stop doing this. And it was a big night for me that I did bad in front of people.
Yeah.
And I'll put it on Facebook now. I'll talk about a bombing story, and Steve will post right on it. I was there. That was bad. And it meant so much to me that I would like apologize to other comics where I was like, man, I'm sorry you had to see that. That was fucking stupid. And they would say, Sam, I've seen you do well before. It's all good. It happens.
Yeah.
I was like that early off, but I'm like, or they would say, why the fuck are you apologizing to me for? I'm thinking about my own set.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. When you watch a comic bomb, right away, like, or initially, at least for me, I don't think like, oh, it's because they did bad. I'm like, oh shit, like, what is the crowd feeling like? And if I go up, how is it going to affect my set, like, immediately?
Okay, but then here's the thing. When I know good comics are coming up later and they do amazing, then that goes away. It was not the crowd. It's how good they are.
Yeah.
So I was at, I did really, really good once, and then went to the dive bar a week before Christmas, which is like this Monday, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted it so bad, and I fucked up in front of everybody. And Randall, who hosts it, came up to me after, and I was in a bad mood that I did bad.
Yeah.
Because because it takes a lot to get up and go in your body's emotional roller coaster. And I did bad. And he came up to me and said, Sam, you're going to be great. I said, why the fuck would you tell me something like that after you just saw that?
Yeah.
Because you keep coming back and you keep trying and you want it to always be good. So it'll be good. Yeah. And then the next week I came back at Christmas Day on Christmas night and did comedy and did really, really well. And he was just like, see, man, I told you. And I was like,
yeah.
Yeah, but at that moment, if I got off stage and I did shitty, and I was just like, oh, whatever, it's a mic, who gives a shit? Then I think that's the wrong way to look at it. But from be like, no, man, you're going to be great at this.
Yeah.
So I was like, those like little moments, that is the reason why I stay in comedy also, is those moments with other comics that we have really, really serious, heartwarming talks about that kind of stuff. It's like you don't have that with, a lot of people don't have that with coworkers or family members or something. So we kind of like don't bullshit each other when we talk about that kind of stuff. Yeah. So if people talk to me that way, then I'll talk to them back that way to be sincere.
Yeah. And it's almost like when you see, you know, military guys, you know, the camaraderie that they have because they're in the shit together. Right. That's how I feel. Like, I'm not super, super close with any of these comics. You know, I don't go out with them on a daily basis or talk to them. But anytime I see them, like with you, you know, AJ, I just had on Roscoe, Bobby Sticks, like all the time when I see them, it's like, hey, man, it's so fucking good to see you. We sit there, we bullshit. When you get off stage, whether it was good or bad, they sit you down and either console you and say, hey, man, like this shit happens. Or if you do good, they're like, bro, that's fucking amazing. And you
then
know,
the thing is that kind of stuff never ends with how long you do comedy. And really, really good comics have said that, where it's like, when a really good comic that's professionally paid and doing really well and he meets new comics, there's a shorthand there where it's like they're on the same page and they understand the struggle right away, where it's like, I think that in some other industries also. Yeah. But that's one thing I really, really like about it, is the camaraderie part of it too.
Yeah. See, for me, and I've told this story already of me bombing, so I'll be brief. Yeah. I was at the Urban Lounge, Tabloid's place, which I love Tab. She's amazing. She's one of my favorites. Me too. And I think it was the first time I was there, maybe the first or second time. I got up there. It was kind of a light crowd that night. I'm trying my shit out, and I was bombing, you know, consistently with every joke. It's going nowhere. At a certain point, there was a guy sitting all the way in the back who just goes, "Fuck him." Like as soon as I hit a punchline and it didn't hit, he just goes, "Fuck him." And that scared me immediately because I was like, I don't know how to address this. Yeah. So I didn't. I hit the next one and he does it again. I'm like, fuck. Like, I don't know how to do this. I hit the next punchline and he didn't say it. So I said it. And then it got the crowd on my side. And I was like, holy shit. And then I did better at that like second half of my set. And that's probably the weirdest like bombing that I've ever had because somebody was heckling me, but he wasn't aggressive. Like he wasn't saying, "Hey, you fucking suck." He was pretty much saying, "Hey, fuck the crowd."
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to handle it. And then like a couple weeks after that, I went to Urban Lounge. I'm sitting there, I'm talking to Tab, and this guy comes up and he says hi to Tab, and then he goes, "Hey, is this that guy?" And she goes, "What do you mean?" Like, "Yeah, he's funny, whatever." And he goes, "No, fuck him. That's the guy." And I was like, "Yeah, you're that fucking guy." He goes, "Yeah, man."
Yeah, no, that's cool.
It was like this weird interaction that I had with this guy.
No, that is cool. That is really, really good. Tab runs good rooms, and I talked to good comics about her, and she's like, she's one of the best in the scene. And here's the thing: if she goes on before you, you have to work your ass off.
Oh yeah.
To be funny, and
even when she hosts, like when she's up there and she's fucking going at it, like I've seen her at Urban Lounge where she'll walk like around the bar and talk to every single person, get back on stage, and then introduce the next comic. And that has fucked me up a couple of times because she just destroyed with crowd work, and then now I have to get up there with my bullshit and just try to get them, you know.
And I've heard stories. I love because I'm exactly like you, where I follow comedy closely, and she'll do private parties at like a mansion or something. And the person that booked her has talked to me and said, "Sam, did you know what she did besides destroying at the show I paid her for?" And I said, "What?" She goes, "A complete professional. When she pulled up and parked, had the entire house, the guests, everybody feeling really, really good 2 hours before, 2 hours after, and destroying the whole time." And I was like, man, that's so cool when I hear that. That's one thing that inspires me about comedy is when I see on social media, when I see Donnie Johnson, Tabloid, and people get on planes and fly to like Canada to go do comedy and stuff. I'm like, damn, that is really, really cool. Go to Texas and do shows. Jay Devon does it with those guys, and they'll travel for it and get paid. Yeah. And I'm like, man, that is so cool that they do that.
Yeah. Have you traveled around, like getting paid or not? Have you done shows out of state?
Yes. And where at? I'm still friends with the people that I did it with. Nice. When Shimmy took me to California, she introduced me to rooms out there and people out there. And Ian Russo out of LA just messaged me, and he's got TV credits and starting to do comedy works and starting to do stuff. Hey, I haven't been in Vegas in a while. Can you send this video to a few people? I'm here for this night. Now, it's a Thursday night, so there's only 2 things going on, but I'll send it to him. And I was really, really fortunate enough to be brought in by really good comics. Yeah. So I took it kind of seriously because they brought me in the first 2 or 3 weeks, and I was like, oh fuck, this is so cool. And then that lasted till the drive home, where I was like, I do not want to be the comic that sucks out of these guys, so I better get good quick as shit.
Oh yeah.
And so just tried my very, very hardest to try hard at it. But yeah, man, Los Angeles and Northern Nevada. Okay. But what I really want to do is I want to do back east. I want to do New York and Boston. Yeah. Like, I think it would be so cool if me, Ralph Totilla, Ryan Barrasso went out to Boston and did a comedy show, or did a full week in New York, mics every night of the week, and then a showcase at the end. Yeah. But then doubt creeps into your mind, because it's like, okay, after you do New York and after you do Boston, then what? So to answer that, my North Star would be like what Trish Smart does, where she goes to like a Thailand or something and puts on.
Oh wow!
She does that, where she's on the show at the Artifice, and she will fly to Thailand and do comedy out there, and and do it at clubs and then book our own shows. I'm like that. My brother travels, and I'm like, that's kind of badass
Oh,
to
yeah.
use comedy and traveling and how far out they are. Stephen Briggs did stuff in like Japan or something.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine? Of course, New York and Boston would be badass to go do it there and see what their scene's like.
Yeah.
But
I've heard Boston is tough because those
I heard that
guys.
it's very, very like territorial.
Yeah.
But if you can manage if you
Yeah.
go there to try to be funny and go on stage like, hey man, I'm coming up here and I'm in it for this long and I'm not coming up here to kind of fuck around.
Yeah.
However they feel about your set or whatnot is
Yeah.
one way, but you going out there and trying your hardest you can, people respect if you try really, really hard.
Yeah. And
But that's me saying it that I haven't been there.
Yeah. And have you noticed like a big difference with audience when you went out to LA versus here in Vegas? Because I went out to Austin.
Mhm.
I was there for my brother's wedding, and I hit like 2 or 3 mics while I was there. And the biggest thing that I noticed is a lot of the comics out in Austin do very political, bits and shit like that. And there was an outdoor room where it was a lot of just regular audience members, and they were hearing all these comics go up telling similar jokes about politics.
Yeah, to answer your question, yeah, because it's like this. When I went to LA, I didn't know enough to care or think about it. I was just running my set that I knew how to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just not shoving it down their throat, but like, this is what I am, this is what I do, shoving it as hard as I can.
Yeah.
Watch Shimmy do the Comedy Store, stayed up late and did other rooms and just did it. But I think you're right. If I tried to do it, in Aspen and be like, okay, what do I have to do here?
Mm-hmm.
Then that might get into my mind too a little bit. It could throw you off. But I've heard friends of mine have went to Austin. They said, yeah, it's kind of snooty up there.
Mm-hmm. Because like at that room with like, there's like 10 or 20 comics that went before me. A lot of them talked political shit. I went up there with just my shit,
right?
And I got one of the best reactions that I've ever gotten.
Yeah,
because it seemed like they were just over it. They're like, I'm tired of this politics. I don't care. Yeah. I go up there talking about morphine and this, that, and the other, and they're like, I like this guy, you know. And so it was very interesting for me to see it.
I heard a headliner talk about that before, and it's because like maybe the color in your voice, where if you're talking about something and you care about, then that'll draw them in. Where it's like, hey, that's who this person is. Let's like this person instead of stuff that they are trying to dig and think is the right thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would much rather like that than. I've heard, don't get me wrong, I've heard 2 or 3 or 4 good political jokes. I'm like, yeah, that is funny, but I don't want to see 12 comics do that in a row. I'm like, no, that don't sound like a very good fucking night to me.
No, it seems like it'll get tedious. You're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, you don't prove to me, I'm not even going to use the word, but don't prove to me what the right way to think is. I didn't come out to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come out to...
And that's my favorite thing about comedy is like, or at least my favorite style of comedy. It's like with a Christopher Titus or a Doug Stanhope, it's like, I want to know like about you, and I want to know what you think about, certain situations. Like, I don't want you to just jump on the bandwagon of what's, correct to think about, because I don't give a shit.
No, no, definitely not. Definitely not.
So one of the things I love with doing these types of interviews is getting to know who you are a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So first of all, like where did you grow up? And if you don't mind, how old are you actually?
Okay, I'm 40 years old right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 40. I was born and raised in Fort Bragg in Northern California.
Okay. Military family?
No, they think that, but it's where the redwoods meet the coast, so it's on the coast.
Okay.
And I stayed there until kindergarten, and I moved to San Jose. And I lived in San Jose from kindergarten until freshman year of high school.
Okay.
And from San Jose, I moved to Santa Cruz, and I lived on a sailboat with my dad and brother from freshman year in high school until senior year. And actually 2 years after senior year of high school, 2 years into community college at Aptos.
Like you lived actually on the boat.
Yeah.
No shit.
And now it is cool to tell it, but for 4 years in high school, I was like kind of embarrassed of it that I lived on a boat.
Yeah.
But now that
hard to bring a young woman back to your boat.
I did a couple of times, and I had a boat party, which was fun. And
that's awesome.
People talked about it up until today, where it's like, no, remember Sam's boat party? And it was a cool party. And I was like, yeah, like if you think back on that, like, man, we had a boat party. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. But at the time, I can see why it's like, it's
a
little weird.
But I'm so happy that I got to live in Santa Cruz from freshman year in high school till 2 years after, because it kind of changed me. If I lived in San Jose and went through high school, I'd have been a very, very, very different person.
Really?
Yeah, like a city kid.
Okay. I see.
Santa Cruz was more nature stuff.
Yeah.
And I moved from San Jose to Santa Cruz, and I remember in art class, this girl said, Sam, you're from San Jose over the hill, the valley. Mm-hmm. You're like from the streets. And I'm like, well, I'm living here now. I'm whatever Santa Cruz is. But it was cool. It was really, really cool I did 4 years of football in Santa Cruz and wrestling, and my brother joined drama, and I had a girlfriend that was in drama. And those people were funny. They were cool. They were pretty cool. Just like Garrett Hall, he did football and drama also. So I still had both of those worlds.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you like in high school and all of that? Were you that kind of outgoing type of kid who was befriending everybody, or class clown type? Because a lot of comics talk about that they were the class clown, and that kind of pushed them into stand-up.
Yeah, because Tom Hanks said he didn't go to school at all for the education part of it, only for the hang. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's completely, we didn't care at all, but we're able to make it through and graduate and do, but yeah, I did just like to only go there to be happy, smiling, make people laugh. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun the whole entire time.
Really? Yeah. I had the exact opposite. I was I've always been quiet and very like socially awkward. Yeah. Like even through high school, I was that way. So I was kind of one of the outcast type of kids. I was the school shooter type, sitting in the back of the classroom who everybody just kind of eyeballs. Yeah. Tries not to, infuriate me because I could come back with an automatic weapon.
You know what I would do in high school is still go to those kids and talk to them and do that. And I have nieces now that are in kindergarten and be like, no matter what, you're smart and you're going to get good grades, but go to the most bad, white trash, dirty, smelly, fucked up kid at all. Yeah. Put your arm around and be like, hey man, we had some hard time with those integers last night. Let's work this out, because how school is, it's going to come and go and you're going to get those good grades, but also pull people up with you. Like, especially if you can notice, damn, that person's got it really, really, really rough.
Yeah. Because I was bullied all through school, and it was weird because I tell this that the public school that I went to in Texas, it was a lot like prison because everybody divided up by race. Right. It was a very weird thing. And I was too white for the Mexicans, and I was too Mexican for the white kids. Right. So I was kind of that awkward, outcast. And I had my group of friends who were the same way,
So living in San Jose, it was like that where my family was kind of like conservative, and every single person in my family was a teacher, and my grandpa was the principal. But then my dad moved us to Eastside San Jose to go to school, so it was a lot of like Hispanic gangs and stuff. So I took that on full. I had a lowrider,
nice,
and I had a lowrider bike that I got dipped in chrome, and a banana seat, and I had money because I worked. I sold candy door to door, so I put my money into my bank, and I had like Ben Davis clothes and Dickies and stuff. And
I mean, I could see the style a little bit with that the shirt you got on.
I sold nickel bags is what I did in town. No, but so that's where I made my first fortune.
I just want to see you with that same shirt with a wife beater under it.
I used to
button it just the one at the top with some Dickie pants.
But that's the thing, is I don't like going back to it. We lived through that and we made it through it. And with my mom, we lived in Oakland, California. So I have both, where it was like some structure where it felt like the Wonder Years. If I'm dating myself, where we had structure and we went to school and stuff. But then in my mom's house, very, very a poverty level stuff. So it was like I knew both worlds all the way through.
Interesting.
And when I was with my dad, I still went with my mom in high desert, Palmdale, Lancaster. Was just like sometimes people had very, very little. And with comics, sometimes they have like $3 or $4 or not enough money for gas or stuff. So man, those guys that have to like live with the weird girlfriend or something to be to make it go, man, those guys are funny, man. Those guys, if all they have is comedy, those guys come out funny to me. So I'm like,
I think I break that stereotype because I live with my girlfriend, so she supports me a little. She supports me a little bit, and I am not funny.
No, you are funny. You are funny. It's good. Hang out with Sean Rotan more.
I fucking love that guy.
You know, he was sending me messages through this pandemic when he was in the hospital, and he pulled up a big old huge gallon, and he goes, "Hey, look, at least I got piss." And I'm like, man, get the fuck out of here. You're funny as shit.
Oh my god, I love that.
Just make it yeah.
His fucking bit with the glitter and the water.
I'm mad they made him stop doing that
Me too.
because I'm like, it's such a funny bit that I'm like, man, they need to. Who cares if you have glitter on it? But no, he talks about other ideas that are like where you're pressing the envelope and you completely have to be funny, have to, or you're kind of not worth jack shit. And I like having those kind of conversations because it's like, yeah, man, he's definitely one of the best.
For me, I love what draws me to a comic is hearing a bit that they do, and I hear it, 4 times a week. I hear it all the time, and it still makes me laugh. Like with the glitter thing in the water. Right. I saw it so many times, but as soon as he started to, what do you call it? Like he starts to set up the bit, I start laughing already because I know what's coming.
So do you like to watch? Do you ever like to watch brand new comics or comics that are bad? Do you like to watch bad comics? What I like to watch is bad comics that are getting better. And somebody talked shit about me when I first started because they said, man, Sam just does those same 4 jokes and it's just fuck that.
Yeah.
And then Ryan said, hey, no. And he held court in front of a bunch of people. He goes, Sam's a guy in our scene that's getting better. He is trying to get better, and every scene has that. And when he said that, you take that home and you think about it like, 1, he backed up for me in front of my peers. That's cool feeling. Yeah. 2, he sees that I'm trying to put an effort to be good. Yeah. And then it makes you think differently and make a decision like, no, I'm going to be fucking better.
Yeah.
I'm going to try harder and be better.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of people that get caught up in the wash where it's like, yeah, man, hey, you've had 5 bad sets, 12 bad sets, and you could slow down and stop doing it. But since a lot of my friends have been supportive of it, then I'm like, no, I want to make you guys laugh too. So that's what I'm going to keep doing.
Yeah. See, and I'm kind of in that right now where, I've been hitting the same set for a while now, and around the comics who've heard it already, they kind of lose interest when I'm in, doing a show with just comics. But when I go to Wise Guys or something like that, like I can kill.
So why don't you do this just to say it? Why don't you just do that at Wise Guys, but like 3 new things every time you go up on, or 3 new things each night you go up to grow it.
Yeah.
And then, and then just to grow it, just to experiment and try. Because I keep saying it so much, but to get home after work, shower, shave, put all your stuff on, and then go out to comedy, drive there, wait 12 people, 14 people, and do it, you have to change it up a little bit so you're happy about what you're doing. So it's like, have the mindset, I got 4 new things and I'm going to smash the fuck out of it. And if the second, third, or fourth thing doesn't work, then I'll rely on old stuff. And a comic told me that, say, try something new every single time. Try 3 things every time, but it has to be, it just depends. I'm not in somebody else's brain, so that's why I wouldn't even say do this or don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're doing it so much and then it's working at a club, keep doing that. But for me, it's like I have some stuff that I want to knock your fucking socks off right away. And if I feel that way at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I heard Louis C.K. talk about that where he said, I'm not going to couch it in there or like bring it up later. I got something I want my friends to hear tonight, so I'm going to fucking lead with it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like that. I like that. I've heard that and I like that.
Yeah.
So I'll just say it. But I thought of something in the shower. I get a lot of my stuff in the shower.
Yeah.
And I was like this. I was booked on a show, Parker's show at the Happy Earth. And I didn't know there was going to be fucking kids there.
Oh,
there was kids there, yeah. So I was like, I'm looking through my whole entire list, and I said, fuck it, I'm either just going to have to do whatever I do, but I thought of something hysterical that would make my friends laugh, back of the room comedy. And I said, and I talked to this guy from Wise Guys, and he said a touch point where you go out into the crowd, ask him something that you have the answer for to get into your bit.
Yeah.
And then I did it, and the person didn't respond back the way I wanted to, and that was okay. But I was like, hey guys, I got a new job piercing clits. Bro, I don't give a fuck. I opened with that shit, and there was an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old in there. But the thing is that kid was trying to be a comic, and his dad let him go there, and they were cool with it. And everybody, Gabe Choir, Parker, Summer, they all, even Harrison died, they all, Steve McAnally, they all did raunchy ass shit in front of these kids and didn't change their set at all.
Damn.
But I opened it after Parker did time, and I said, hey guys, I started piercing clits for a living. and it was, okay, shock value humor. Well, that's not where I make my money. I usually make it on the jewelry side of things. but if I just only did what has worked in the past, I wouldn't have been so excited about like, hey man, I got something.
Yeah.
And when I light up and go, hey, I got something, the crowd will like it.
Yeah.
Will like it. That's why I'm going out tonight and I'm going out Sunday. And if everybody else is just kind of going, this is what I got, and I start with a real silent and fucking, it'll go good. Yeah. It'll go good.
See, and I kind of picked that up doing the dive bar because it's a tough room.
Yes.
You know, nobody's paying attention. So I watched like 10 comics go up where nobody gave a fuck.
Right.
So I walk up there and very slowly grab the mic, be very quiet. And then after a while, people are wondering why there's not somebody talking on stage. So they start to like look around, and I just go, anal beads. And I see people at the bar turn around. I was like, now I got your attention. Here we go. And it didn't work out the way that I wanted because I did get their attention, but for like a minute or two, and then they lost interest again. So it was like, but it's like those types of things I've tried to do more and more where I just want to grab you.
Big Doc told me, and he's done the Dirty at 12:30 at Gabe's spot, but Big Doc told me, Sam, you know what? We talked about comedy a lot, and he was one of the guys that brought me in, and he said, Sam, but you know what you have to do? And I said, what? And he said, have the most fun you've ever had in your life up there. And I was like, dude, if you didn't tell every single person that, then only some people are going to be having the most fun. Now, of course, if you're like deadpan and like, hey, everybody, then that's not what you need to hear. But when he said that for me, I was like, you can exhale and go, yeah, man, why get all ready, go out to do comedy if you're not going to try to have so much fun. And then I've got messages in the middle of the week, and Michael Robertson said, Sam, you know what I will say? That you do look like you're having fun on stage.
Yeah.
And other people said, well, that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Even to the simple fact of how you take the mic out of the mic stand. You do it the same way every time. And I like that because you're up there, you're commanding the attention. You're like, pull the mic stand down, you take it out, and it's almost like a here we go.
And not only that, but you know who else is giving me that kind of inspiration is over there at Wise Guys, Shenanigan, how he closes his set. I said, you did it again. And he goes, what? And I said, every time you leave the stage, you do something funny or silly on your way out. Like he has long hair with a bowling hat, and he like wiggles his hair as he walks off stage. And I said, you were funny the entire time, and then you were fucking funny at the end as you leave. Yeah. And even if some stuff wasn't hitting, you were funny as you were leaving. He said, I love comedy, man. I said, man, all right. So I just started talking to him a bunch more, and I talked to me, and he's given me tips on tons of stuff where I've known him for about 3 years and used to come to a mic that I ran, and he reads he reads books on comedy, and there is some tricks you can do, and he goes, Sam, this is what I'm doing. I go, why? How come that works? And he tells me why it works, and I said, I'm going to try doing that, and I've seen other really good comics do it, so it was really it was cool. It's cool to watch his set.
Yeah. And see,
and he's hosting up there at Wise Guys and getting guest spots on the weekend. He's doing good.
I've seen him but
like here's
3
the thing,
times
you
I've
don't
been
see him at Dive, you don't see him at Noreen's, you don't see him at any spots we go to. But then I'm like, so where it can work is, like Gordon Morgan's or something, being an introvert, studying this, knowing it, watching it, and getting up there and just destroying with it. I'm like, see how there could be 2 different worlds, you know?
And see, I've been in this weird rut lately where it's like the entire year, you know, the entirety of this year, I've hit it really hard.
How old are you?
26.
Okay.
You know, and so I've been hitting it real hard this year. I would go up, you know, 5-6 times a week, you know, maybe even more sometimes. And balancing work, you know, it got tiring sometimes. But then I hit this spot where, you know, I've, in a sense, exhausted my material doing it at these mics. So I want new shit, and I'm hitting a block, and I can't figure out how to, you know, sit down and fucking write something.
Well, we talked about it but we've talked about it off mic, and what it was is some pros said, you know what it is, and they've told headliners, it's reading new stuff. Get into some Viking novels, or we talked about it, get into woodworking. Nobody gives a shit about woodworking, but if you can find something different and new about it, then talk about that.
Yeah.
But
you know what helped me?
What's that?
Is you turned me on to this guy, Jerry. What the fuck is his name? It's a YouTube channel.
Oh, Corley.
Yeah. You turned me on to him months and months ago. And I would listen to him and this and that, but while I was working. So I would just have my headphone in and I'm listening to him.
Get stuff from it?
I'll tell you. So I would just listen to it just to listen to it, but I wouldn't absorb it the way that I felt like I should. And being in this, you know, month-long rut, I was like, okay, what if I go back and actually take myself to school, listen to what he's saying, and internalize it a little more? And I did that this last week, and I'm really trying to absorb shit. And it's making me realize, you know, some flaws that I'm doing in my set, some things I could be doing better. And I mean, some stuff that he talks about doesn't work for me.
Right.
So that's okay. I can put that aside.
Right.
And now I'm starting to put shit on paper again, and it's making me feel better. And I'm like, okay, because through this rut, I was literally at the point where I would talk to my girlfriend, and I'm like, is this that point where I'm like, I took it this far and that's it? Like, I'm not going to be doing stand-up anymore because I can't think of anything.
So what's cool about it is Parker, where he's at right now, he's 21 years old, or he's 19. He's been doing it for 3 years at Grouchy John. He's doing it over there. And now he's running shows. He's hosting at Wise Guys. He's 19 years old, but 4 months ago he said, Sam, I said, what do you got coming up, Parker? And he said, Sam, I don't got anything. I'm not booked. I said, that's all right. And I said, you're okay? And he goes, no, I was booked, climbing, doing good, and nothing. I said, bro, you're fucking 19 years old, and you've already climbed a whole bunch, got booked at some good levels, fell off. And I like that feeling when it falls off and you have absolutely nothing, because it can make you feel like Norm Macdonald or Artie Lang would say, like a fresh shower. Like, fuck yeah, at least I can refresh myself and start new, where I'm like, dude, that is so cool at 19 years old that you climbed, you saw what it is, and now it's time to completely rebuild it. And me, I do that in my personal life with a lot of stuff, so I don't mind if it gets real bad, real shitty, real fucking pathetic, and real horrible and sad, and then go, guess what? Because now you can always have that the feeling of to rebuild something. Yeah. So I don't know how many times I could do it, where it's just like, God damn, but if you love it enough and stuff, I think it'll always be okay, because I like that feeling of doing it. And when I talk to Justin Joe Brown about comedy and stuff, he goes, Sam, are you gonna hit it again real hard and do it like that? I said, man, it fucking scares the shit out of me. And he goes, why? I'm all, because if you do it the right way, like Tyler Tracy's doing it right now, it's like, it's very, very, very hard on your personal life. If you, like you said, if you did comedy 5 or 6 nights in a row and more than that, then guess what? You're not going out on dates, going to a parks, watching swings. So how are you going to get more material?
Shit,
I did so much comedy that when I saw my grandma, I saw her and I was like, fuck, man, that's my grandma. Like, she is fucking old.
Yeah.
She's like, I have been fucking missing out where I only saw like bars, the inside of bars for so long. And then it's like, hey, but you know what? Take the kids to a play, take the kids to this, do this kind of stuff, reconnect what's going on in their life. And then it gives you more material about what's going on.
Yeah.
And
I do think there's a lot of truth to that, because for this entire year, I've, like you said, just seen the inside of these bars.
Right.
I fucking drink heavily, and then I'm trying to get through my workday, the next morning, and it's exhausting and all of that. But now I've taken like about a month off. I hit regularly in this month. I've probably hit 2 mics a week.
I tell my friends this, man, and it's fucking sad as shit, but if you stay up very, very late doing comedy every day for a very long time at like 1 p.m., I would just shut down and like cry for like 11 minutes. And I would call my friend. I said, my brain is only, if you get in at like 3:40 in the morning and you wake up at 5 to go to work at 6, and you're getting like 3 hours, 21 minutes of sleep, stuff's not processing the right way.
Yeah, you're all
and I wouldn't
foggy.
cry about horrible, sad things. I'd just like see people walk in and be like, it's not fair. Why do they don't have a car and I'm lucky enough too? And they said, my comedy friend said, Sam, you didn't sleep.
Yeah.
go home, sleep, do one.
I've had those where you just, it's not even a thing that would make me break down. It was just the exhaustion. Just sitting, like getting up in the morning at fucking 5 and sitting in my car, and I know I'm about to go work 9 hours, and I'm just like,
you know what pisses me off, what comics say? I'm going to tell you this right now, is if they finish doing comedy at 10 o'clock at night and they go, Sam, I got to go to work at 8. And I'm like, bro, I want to fucking fight you. You got 3 full extra hours of sleep and you're at home by 10. Like, dude, come on, man.
There have been so many nights where I get home at midnight or 1 o'clock, don't fall asleep until like maybe 2, and I'm up at 5. I'm like, fuck my life. And
I had one of those okay, so I was booked on Parker's show on Thursday. You get there at 8, the show starts at 9, watch everybody, take the picture at the end, and then I started to drive home at like 11:50. I took a 2-hour nap after work. I went home, and I woke up yesterday, Friday, and it was one of those nights where I got like 3 hours, 40 minutes of sleep, and I woke up when my alarm went off, time to get ready, and I'm like, oh, fuck, this is going to hurt so bad. My brain hurts fucking bad. This is going to be so hard to do. A 12-hour day of work. And like, I'm so busy now at work where I used to be able to like put in less effort at work.
Yeah.
And like, but now it's so slammed where I need my mind to do it. At 6 o'clock in the morning, we have 6 guys waiting to get loaded, and you have to start knowing what company, knowing who they are, knowing the PO and the job name, and start actually performing quick. Where it used to be, I have an hour to wake up at work. The second hour, 2 or 3 guys will trickle in. My boss will get there at 9, and then I can go out on delivery and fucking make my mind ease and find a way. I told my daughter, I'll tell you this, I was so tired one time that there was a guy in the back of a truck and I had a pallet of sheet goods and I was going to load them, and I was so fucking tired I clipped him with a big old pallet of stuff, and he was standing at the end, and you're just supposed to bring it to the end, and he unloads and takes it off into his truck. And I fucking swung up by and I clipped him, and the thing is if he was between the bed of the truck and here and hit him, it could have been catastrophic where he could have got. And I told Lily, just out of the top of my mind, my daughter, I said, fucking clipped a guy at work with some stuff. And he went to me, hey, man, what the fuck? And I said, hey, man, sorry about that. I didn't mean to do it. And my daughter said, that's all you said to him? And I was like, I didn't try to fucking hit him. I was just like completely dead in my mind. And that happened. I'm all, so when you get close to killing a man, you've been doing comedy too late at night.
Yes. Because I work with high pressure
Explosives,
high pressure machine, and there have been times when I zone out. It's almost like my eyes are open, but I'm like napping, and then I'll realize that, hey, this thing is way overpressured, and I need to fucking address it.
Dude, AJ Rivera told me that at his spot where he's loading up stuff for the pictures and stuff. He said his boss was starting to say, "What the fuck, man? You were late. You're not loading the shit. You're not pressing it." Imagine if you did that with Concentrate and it was like, hey, this was supposed to be 75%. How come it's 30%? Like, whatever, man. I fucking put in what I put in.
And I could feel it. And my manager knows it because he knows I do stand-up, okay? But he's starting to see how it affects me. And he's talked to me a couple times. He's like, man, like, when you first got here, he was like, you were on top. You were the fucking star employee. He was like, now I can see your passion for this job going down. And I was just real with him. I was like, it is.
Antonio, that's why you need to talk to other comics about it, because I'm not going to say names, but there's people that worked at like Caesars Entertainment that are the very best of our level of comedy and traveling to Chicago doing comedy and getting stuff. But if you do what we do, doing comedy very, very late, and then your manager tries to come at you and talk to you, you feel like you're the shit and you could talk to him a different way.
Yeah.
And he lost his job. And the thing is like, if you, and I said, I already felt like that where I'm like, dude, I did stand up comedy in front of fucking 50 people. I don't give a fuck about bringing something from here to there. Fucking fuck this place. But to keep your job, you can't talk like that. Oh, yeah. So that what your experience, I've heard from other places where that's what sucks is you do have to have that money coming in to do it. And then also, they're like the stuff that we have to do for a living. If I have a friend that works at a banquet hall, it's like, hey, we like the tablecloths on a certain kind of way, and you're putting your whole heart and soul and energy into performing. It's like, I kind of don't even give a fuck about these tables, setting dishes. Like, but we got you at $18 an hour, so like, let's have it perfect. And that's their job, to be quality control. So,
but I have that. Because I've always, like, I've hated jobs in the past. You know, I've had shitty jobs and I've hated them. And getting into the weed industry, it was like, this is kind of a dream to me. Like, I get to work with weed.
And Tony, to keep your job, you have to fucking lie to him and say, and you shouldn't have said this. You shouldn't have said, I don't have passion for this job. You should have said, like, this is the only thing on my, that's why I knew enough not to tell my boss, hey, man, I'm getting in at 3. It was just like he thought I was like, had something fucking wrong with my mind or something like that. But if I said, hey man, I always get in at 3 and come here and try to fucking shuffle through this job, maybe he wouldn't put me at the top of the list anymore. Yeah. But
it's that thing, because I thought this job was like my dream. Then I started doing stand up and I was like, oh, I hate this job. It's like any other job. It's the best 9 to 5 that I could have, but I still hate it. And it's like going through, it
makes you jaded. But so check this out. I was getting lunch for the guys at work and my boss sent me up there. And there was this dude that played in the NFL. And I always thought the NFL was the shit. These guys are so cool. And just how we talk about comedy so inside, this dude was a lineman and he was eating. And he goes, he was playing the Raiders or something. And he had already played the Tennessee Titans. And he was talking like, yeah, man, we beat the Titans. And I've been doing so much comedy lately. I'm like, I don't give a fuck that he's an NFL player, and the only thing in his life right now is that he beat the Titans. Well, who gives a fuck about the Titans? So I'm like, comedy's like that too with, I'm a professional athlete. No, that doesn't make sense. But I'm like, man, nobody gives a shit if you beat the, especially now, so it was just kind of weird to see that. But if you just keep hitting those plateaus, but everybody has felt like that where it's just like I'll tell my boss to go fuck this fucking place. You could, but you won't have work.
It's funny though. It's like even where I'm at now, like so jaded to it and all of that. I left for 3 weeks to go to Texas, and whoever like stepped into my position, it fell apart. Like it astonishingly just fell apart. And then I came back. And it was almost like a sigh of relief to most people. They're like, oh, God, okay, you're back and you can take control. So you're talented,
that's good. But I had friends that did improv that was like, okay, it's time to go do the improv thing. I want to try to miss a good amount of work. I'm going to go do it. And came back and their jobs weren't there. So it was like, fuck. So I rely on that too. We hire a lot of people that are like 19 years old that fucking suck real bad. It's like, Sam's back. He can
take over. Things are going to be smooth.
He ain't shit.
Yeah.
But he can do it. He could do it. So there is that. But you have to use every single thing you can to keep it going.
Have you ever quit a job like in a terrible way? Like looking back on it?
Yeah. But not from comedy. Just I was with a girl and she was singing in something. And I had that job for 3 years, and she's a professional singer, and I drove off. My manager caught me driving off, and then I was just parking my car different, and I parked it, and then like 18 minutes went by. I was like, "Fuck this job," and I drove off. Yeah,
nice. I quit a dishwashing job because like Sunday was always our biggest day, and so I'm a dishwasher, and I usually had another guy helping me out. And something happened, and this dude was always flaky. Like the boss would just allow him to come and go as he pleased, and it would always frustrate me because like 3 Sundays in a row, this dude would come help me out for like an hour and then just disappear, and I was left with everything, and the manager didn't give a fuck.
I know.
So one day he comes back here yelling at me because I'm not doing it quick enough.
Right.
And I was like, I'm supposed to have another fucking person here. You keep letting him leave.
Yeah.
And he just keeps yelling at me and this and that. And I was holding a plate in my hand. And I just told him, I was like, dude, back the fuck off, because he was in my face. And he took a step back, and I just broke the plate at his foot. And I was like, fuck you, man. I don't need this job. And I just walked out. And then it's funny because I ended up working for his brother, who owned a restaurant like 30 minutes down the road. And I couldn't put that restaurant on like my previous work history or reference or anything. So I left it out completely, and his brother hired me.
Antonio, when you were telling that story, I was thinking about a comedy set of how you should do it.
Yeah.
And it's going down. You got the plate, and you could have hit him right in the nose and broke his shit. But you went over and you whipped him up some spaghetti and salad. So here you go, man. Would that be funny to see on stage? What do you think?
It's not bad.
You know, like, because you got the whole crowd thinking, damn, Antonio might bash this in the face with this thing. But instead, he made some carp. I don't know.
Some carp. Right? I love the specificity of something like that, because you could have said fish, but you said carp. I love that type of shit.
No, that would be cool, man. So I don't got anything to talk about later, if you don't mind if I use that shit.
Right.
No, so
I've been having a hard time writing, so I'm just gonna jot that down.
Yeah, right. No, but that's your story. You quit that job like that with the plate.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. It could have been a bowl and put it on its head, fucking lined his shit up and gave him a real good haircut. Just stupid. That's what I wish. Like everybody says in comedy, I'll tell you this right now. Hey, let's get together and write sometime. They always say that, but like I think I only done it 3 or 4 times. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. There's so many talented writers that it would be cool to have like Ross Dinsdale here and D and one other person, and just go, man, this is what I got. This is what I got. And then just do it. Yeah. I don't know why.
See, that's what I've been wanting to do, because I've had such a hard time writing. It's like I want to get a gang of comics and everybody just help each other out. Because with Kirk Broussard, I'm supposed to have him on next week, by the way. Yeah. I saw him do a set at Noreen's, and he did this bit of like smoking crack. The punchline is saying like it's not all it's cracked up to be. But he said crack so many times that I felt like it stepped on the punchline. Yeah. So I was like, dude, just say freebase. Yeah. And he was like, okay. And then last week he came up to me. He was like, dude, I did that line and it fucking worked out. Like the best it's ever happened. I was like, amazing. Like nice. I'm so happy that cool. I could give you that advice. And because if I'm not so close to the material, it's easy for me to think of ways to go with it. But because I'm so close to my shit.
If I give you 3 or 4 jumping off points of mine, you could make them fucking hysterical. And if same thing, vice versa, where I'm just like, I'm only thinking one way, That's why I like watching comedy so much, where I watch somebody and be like, when I was watching Gabe Quires set, I was like, man, that is so fucking funny. You know what would be cool? When he does the Friends bit, or a thumping a baby. Like, I like to talk about the origin of the guy that fucking thumped the baby to make him cry. Like,
Yeah.
that kind of shit. Because just imagine one of your jokes, right? And you say, how did that guy feel, or that brother? Man, let me tell you about his uncle.
Yeah.
And then just doing it that way, where it's like, if your brain works like that with a joke, you might be able to have so many different levels.
Yeah. And so whenever you're writing,
Mhm.
like how does it happen? Do you think of a punchline and you're like, okay, let me develop something around it? Or do you think of like, Squid Games? How do I make that funny? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I do. So what I do is I'm driving in my car and something really, really funny will happen, or my kids will say something, and I'll only text myself on my phone. It'll say comedy gold, and
Nice.
I'll write down one line, and then be like, why is that so fucking funny? And then later in a book, write 3 or 4 things for it,
Okay.
and that's all. And that's all I do. That's it. And there's other people that are amazing joke writers, but don't have a whole bunch of confidence on stage.
Hmm.
So I find I have confidence on stage, but not so great of a writer. So Angie Crum was saying, the more years you do it, both those things will come together.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I hope it will. But
Yeah.
it's also how much, if you do comedy 7 nights a week, imagine if the next week you wrote for 40 minutes 7 nights a week.
Yeah.
That third week, it could be a lot better. It
Yeah.
could be a lot better, instead of just like, damn, I had 12 cigarettes on Monday. I did a 5-minute
Yeah.
set, 3 beers, and then repeated that 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
So more, and that's what the dirty word. That's where the work comes in.
Yeah. For me, I have a hard time with like premises. It's like, what do I want to talk about? Because a lot of my material is stories and
Yeah.
things that happen to me. But at a certain point, like, it's hard to keep drawing from that. And so it's like,
Watch those New York comics that write tight jokes, and that
Mhm.
might be fun. Like, one of my favorite people in this scene right now is Anthony Victorson, because he's a joke writer. And when I was listening to comedy podcasts, those guys out of New York, they're joke writers.
Yeah.
A lot of comics in Vegas right now, what they're doing is just like, they say, like, therapy comedy, or what's going on in their personal life. My girl got out of the shower and she looked like this. And it's like, all right, but those people in New York are writing jokes.
yeah.
You're talking about just what you observed.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of respect for those people that are that just write tight jokes. And I was like, maybe I should try to do like 4 or 5 of them, or a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but-
Because, like, I feel like I could write a joke, like a one-liner,
yeah.
but it's finding what the one-liner should be about. You know what I mean? Because it's like,
So you write it backwards, is like what Ryan does. A friend of mine that does comedies, he says, Sam, I have a lot of one-liner jokes, but they're brought up with 3 or 4 sentences before the punchline. I said, okay, you are right. That is cool, because I really like how funny they are.
yeah.
So when I watch his whole entire set, I'm all, you're a funny, brilliant, great comic. But write 9 one-liners, and then write what's it called? Like something before.
The
Write
setup.
something. Write something. Yeah, but not even. Yeah. The setup. Write the setup after. But like, if you can make it personal to you, then you might have some gold.
Yeah. Because a lot of mine, like I said, it's just like a minute of me talking about something, and I've tried to, joke here, and then try to end it. That's one thing I have such a hard time
What
with.
about if you did you try like timing or pausing?
It's after I perform it that I start to notice how I like the timing. Like, that's when I start to notice
So I
that.
see a lot of brand new comics that do this. Because I was going to say that's what I think is the exact way how you should do it. But when you have those pauses, so they know when to laugh. Because so many times I see comedians step on their punchline, or go right over the laugh and not acknowledge it, like you're reading out of a story. But if you wrote 3 laughs, wait on each one, and it's not like anybody gives a fuck if only 1 or 2 hit, or all 3 hit or something. But then that pausing and timing, where it's like, oh, when you do it that slow and that much pausing or time, people are like, damn, Antonio got fucking good.
Interesting. See, I felt that when I did Backstop for the first time. It, like, the show surprisingly went really well, and so well that it fucked up my timing. Because I'm used to being in these bars with a bunch of comics who are barely listening, so I just go through my material, and it's very, if they laugh, it's a very short pause, and then you keep going. But at Backstop, like, it fucked my timing up.
Why did it? Because, okay, so Alex said that when I had success at Dive Bar, I didn't know how to recover from laughter, and Dee just experienced that at Wise Guys, where when she got everybody in that place laughing for like 18 or 24 seconds, like I've seen Spiro do.
Yeah.
She was like, what the fuck am I going to do now? Why are they going to stop laughing? Sit there, hold on it, wait out to the very last person laughing, and hit them as hard as you could with the next one. Where I was like, that's where you start to see some growth.
Yeah, because for me, when it was happening to me, I was so used to just jumping into the next joke. And so as they're laughing, I would say 2 words and realize they're still laughing. I gotta take a moment here.
Yeah.
And so I would pause and, let them go. And on the kind of tail end of it, then I would get into the next one. And I had a beer with me and my notes. So it made it kind of easy that when they're laughing, I'd look at my notes, take a swig of beer, just to kind of keep myself in the timing. But it really fucked me up. And it was like, you can kind of see it on my face in the recording.
And I want to go do that room again because Dee and Summer are doing it this Monday. And I've always told everybody that's a great room.
It's really good.
It's like a hidden gym. It's great. And people go, in Boulder City? I'm like, when Manny runs that room, he's been running it for over 6 or 7 years now. And he said, I keep running this. And I said, how come? He goes, because it makes me always write new jokes. And those people appreciate comedy so much that I'm like, no, that is a great room. And I think Adam's booking for it too now.
Yeah. He was the one who got me the guest spot a few months ago. Yeah. And what made me feel pretty good about, or feel even better about my set that I did, is that they said that some female comic who was tight in that scene had just recently died. And so the audience was kind of weird and all of that. Like, I saw Liz Hader and Justin Tejan go up. And they did all right, but they're really good comics. And so it was making me nervous. I was like, they didn't give them much. And I didn't know about the comic who died. So I went up there and I did my shit and I got a really good reaction. And I was talking to Manny afterwards and he was like, yeah, sorry, they were a little weird because this happened. And it made me feel really good because I was like, even with that going on, I was still able to pull them out of the funk a little bit and get them to start laughing.
Yeah, man, I like those kind of stuff. I like when that happens. That's why we do it. Making these broken people laugh.
So the final question before we wrap this up, what advice would you give to somebody who is a month in or is thinking about doing stand-up?
So just what I've heard is do as much stage time as you can. Do it a lot. Do as much stage time as you can. Social media, don't I've seen this go really, really bad. Don't comment too much on stuff because if the whole scene will fix itself and police each other. So don't comment on that. If you just got put into a comedy competition, you're like, hey, I was better than that guy. Then it's like, hey, man, maybe you shouldn't have wrote that up there on the page.
Yeah.
Also, I just met this new guy at Wise Guys, and this was his second time doing comedy. And they say I'm like the welcoming committee. I say hello and introduce and tell them all the rooms and stuff. But I said, Randall told me, everything that comes out of your mouth, you have to be accountable for. So take a minute back and think about what you're going to say. And then right away people answer, well, if people are too sensitive, then I don't care about that. I'm like, yeah, no, okay. But if you're going to be around these people for a very, very, that's how I approach it, a very long time, just think about what you're going to say, But the main thing is do as much stage time as you can. And also this is even more important. This is inspiring. Fall as hard as you can into comedy, as hard as you possibly can, and you'll be happy with the results. Man, it's like the military stuff. I've never been in the military, but they say if you are in it, what's it called? Volunteer for as much as you can because you'll have a rewarding experience.
Yeah.
If my friends are only going to 2 or 3 rooms a week, and I'm checking out what's going on at Jokesters, and I'm checking out what's going on with headliners at the Buck or Dawn Spot or LA Comedy Club, it's like you're going to get so much more out of it.
Yeah.
If you go see Piff the Magic Dragon and like, I don't care about that, or the guy with the puppets.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might not care about it, but maybe you might see some showmanship and you might see some other stuff. So completely like immerse yourself in it as hard as you can. And like, I've been happy with everything. They say that every one of our paths are different, and they are. Every one of our paths are different, but the harder you put something into it, the best results you'll see. I've seen it with other stuff, but it's like if you bought like a little $10 piggy bank from Mexico or something, and you just put like $1.75 worth of quarters in it, like you could start to get like rich. Like,
and I mean
like $150. No, but no. So like same thing with comedy. Like if you put a lot of energy into it and stay very, very late and watch every single person's set. There's been a few sets at Dennis Lavender's spot where people took off early. I'm like, man, Monty Cruz went up late. Donnie came through and like made everybody happy for like 17 minutes. Like, fuck, like you will get so much out of it.
There are some times when I leave a mic because I got to work the next morning, and then I see like pictures or people talking about it, like, oh, this person came through, and I'm like, God damn it!
No,
like,
and it is like that. It is like that. It's like that where it's like, oh, so I've had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I just want to say again, I appreciate you so much, man. Like, for real. Like, you've always been really kind to me. Yeah. You're probably the nicest guy I've met in the scene. And you're no bullshit kind of...
Well, you got to go through a lot of real hard stuff to be nice and friendly and up to do, to get to that.
But I appreciate
Sincerely,
you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on and doing this shit with me. Do you have any social media or anything to plug?
Yeah, Sam Lundstedt on Facebook, Sam Lundstedt on Instagram, and then also I'm available for hosting any spots. If you guys are tired of running a mic and want to do it for a little bit, I'll step in for a week and do that. If you guys are like, I want a night off of doing this.
You know what? I love that because I've only had 2 comics on, but you're the first comic to pretty much say, I'll do something. You know what I mean? Like, I'll host. Like, everybody just plugs a show or their social media, but you're like, give me something to plug in the future.
And I like doing guest spots, and I love hosting, and I like destroying as hard as I can when I'm on stage, and then going home. Yeah. That's nice. It's nice. It's nice. It's a good spot.
Oh yeah. But like I say with everybody, go follow Sam on his Instagram, on his Facebook. And go to his shows. He's the fucking best guy in the scene right now, dude. I love your shit. And the Squid Games joke still gets me every time. And I watched you develop it. Nice. I watched where it was a little longer than it should be. Yeah. Then you shortened it down, and it's fucking perfect, man. I love it.
Come see it.
All right, man. Hey, thanks for hanging out, everybody. Tune in next week. We got Kirk Broussard coming on. So do that. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to the Seriously Inappropriate YouTube channel where you can find the Whitest Mexican You Know podcast. Follow me on Instagram, _Hernandez_comedy. I always forget my Instagram. But thanks for hanging out, everybody. We'll see you next time.